because the biggest concern among residents is the wind, and it's picking up embers. These flames are spreading. As you showed earlier, and also speaking with Alex, several homes are burning. There's no specific number, but we can tell you there are several evacuation orders in place. We received the alerts on our phones. People are trying to get out. What is so scary about all of this is on Sunset Boulevard, as you mentioned, people abandoning their cars and fleeing on foot. That just does not happen. So that just shows how dangerous this is with these wind gusts, how quickly things can turn. And also, just to point out, I mean, officials are saying it's going to get worse. They are expecting the wind gusts to get really bad, especially through tomorrow morning. That is the concern. So, of course, people are trying to, gather their pets, gather their belongings, get their kids out of school. You have to remember, when this fire broke out, people were at work. Kids were at school, and all of a sudden, flames are burning very quickly, and now they're going through the neighborhoods, burning homes. So this is a very scary situation for a lot of people. As you mentioned, here in Santa Monica, we are not in Pacific Palisades, but we are bordering it, and you can see just how big the smoke plume is. It is, actually spreading all the way. Can we turn this? It is spreading all the way to the ocean, if you could see this way. I mean, just the wind is so powerful, Kana. It feels kind of like you're in a sci-fi movie. Everyone is stopping and staring, and just juxtaposed with these palm trees. I mean, this is so unusual, Kana, just to kind of emphasize the kind of situation we're in. Kana.
I want to highlight some of that, and I'm hoping I'm going to call to the control room here to see if we have any of the video of some of those people that were forced to just walk out and abandon their cars. Many of them were actually carrying their animals and what few things they could in their arms with them. So I'm hoping that we can show you some video of that. But again, you're looking live here in Santa Monica, and you can see that how much the smoke has spread. So again, this happened really, really quickly. In fact, our local affiliate, KABC, talked to someone who said, we tried to evacuate an hour after this fire started, and we were already in trouble traffic-wise. What you're looking at live here is a firefighter clearly using a hose, trying to put out what fires they can. This sparked up really, really fast. At this point, the latest number is 770 acres. So this thing grew very quick. The wind is described as erratic and unpredictable. They're using that mountain wave activity to kind of describe these winds. Again, this is also what you're seeing as part of this wildland-urban interface, really a disaster here in this moment in Southern California. There's multiple road closures at this moment as well, and they are watching some really big range spotting, and those evacuation orders are growing by the minute. In fact, when you look at the evacuation maps, it is now starting to approach the burn scar of the Franklin fire in Malibu, which we saw just about a month ago. I want to bring back in here Alex Stone, who again is live with us here in Glendale. And I think, Alex, when we were expecting the weather here today, everyone in Southern California was on edge, right? You don't talk about a wind event, the first of this you've seen in some 10 years, without taking notice. But to see that fire spark and to see it grow so quickly, nearly 800 acres, and it is just before 3 o'clock local time, Alex.
And no doubt, Kana, it's going to be bigger than 800 acres in the end. That's what they have mapped it at right now, but it's growing, and typically when they would get a better mapping of it, the numbers are going to go up as well. I've covered fire for a long time here in California, the last 20 years, and in Colorado 5 years before that, and in Northern California before that. This is about as windy as I can remember it ever being. This is like what we get in California, the equivalent of a hurricane. And I mean, we're talking winds potentially of 100 miles an hour that are going to go all night tonight. That this is about as severe as the winds we're ever going to see here in Southern California. We're hearing from a number of people who are trying to get out. You heard Jacqueline talk about it. You talked about it, trying to get out of Pacific Palisades today. Here's what they were telling us.
I got a call from my wife that the fires sent me a picture. I just left my meeting and just head this way. There's a bunch of cars. I think it's I don't know, 600-700 cars on the same street that I was on. And fire was 5 homes up. And I waited to see if the road's going to open up. Didn't open. I just left my car, ran down the hill.
So there you go. You hear from those, as Jacqueline was describing, those who ran to get out. And those are the cars that are left behind that they're going to bring in bulldozers to just move them out. It won't be worrying about damage of those vehicles. They're just going to push them out of the way to make sure that they can get fire engines in. This is about life safety right now. This is about getting engines in there, saving lives of those who have been trapped. We've been getting reports all day today of people who are trapped in their homes and needing rescue, and firefighters having to go in. There was even an LAPD officer who was trapped, surrounded by fire, and they had to send in a rescue helicopter to look for that LAPD officer. We never heard the outcome. We assumed that they were able to get out on their own. But this has been an extremely dangerous situation today and continues to be right now.
Well, and Alex, as you're talking about the people that are still there, in fact, our station here, KABC, and you just showed Josh Haskell, who was interviewing some of those folks that are trying to leave. It sounds like there's some people who have left, and they left on foot. And what they're telling some of our reporters on the ground there is that they have family members that are being told to shelter in place up higher on the hill. And so do we have any update on how that might go? Do you think LAPD may be assisting in any of that, especially as it does appear they're anticipating and at least hoping for this slight drop in the winds for a few hours this afternoon?
Yeah, think back to the fire in Malibu that you were referencing a moment ago, where they told the students at Pepperdine University to shelter in place, but they were able to do that because they have a library that is essentially fireproof. Pretty incredibly, they spent a lot of money to build a fireproof library, where the students were able a couple of weeks ago to sit in and watch the fire burn all around them. People don't have that in their homes, so it is dangerous. You know, it is bad when they tell people, look, you can't get out. Try to get away from the flames, get as high. The flames are pushing down the mountain toward the ocean, and try to get on the other side of where it started, because we know this is a wind-driven wildfire. Typically, wind-driven wildfires are going to be very narrow and very long. It's running in the wind. It can run faster than humans can run quite often in winds like this. If these winds are 80 miles an hour, or at some point might be, the fire is running at 80 miles an hour. You and I can't run that quickly. So they want people to get out of that area, to get away from those flames. And if they can't get out, it's get on the other side, because you know the flames aren't going to be going against the wind. They're going to be going in the wind. And that's about the best that they can do. The LA Fire Department, Eric Scott, a captain there, was telling us earlier today that they did have to make a number of rescues of mainly elderly people who were unable to get out on their own. And they expect that they're going to have to continue to do that probably tonight. And I bring up one more time, Kana, this is one fire that is burning right now. Thank goodness it is only one fire. We have probably 24 more hours of this to go on, let alone the red flag fire warnings through Friday. But of these conditions, probably 24 more hours. There's a real possibility we're going to have more fire here later on tonight. Hopefully not, but firefighters have to know that. They've got to spread out, deploy for it, and be ready for it.
Yeah, there's no question about that, and it really is a credit to some of the efforts that we've seen from firefighters already today, that there is, in fact, only one fire burning at this moment, because we did see two others spark up. In fact, they already named them the Sunset Fire and a Park Row Fire. They were able to keep those really small and do water drops and get them out, and so the focus here remains on this fire burning in Pacific Palisades here in Southern California. And again, the Los Angeles Fire Department had several strike teams that were pre-deployed. The governor signed off on that, and as Alex mentioned, we also have aircraft in from Canada as well to help out with this. Ahead of this wind event, there was already pre-planned power outages and school closures as well, including the Malibu area. I want to bring back in here Jacqueline Lee, who is live for us in Santa Monica and is able to talk about just how much this smoke is impacting the general area. And one thing in this live picture that you're seeing that strikes me is how dark it is, and that happens when the smoke gets so thick it turns day into night in an instant, and it is terrifying. And Jacqueline, you behind you can see blue sky, but you are seeing smoke there in Santa Monica as well. And this is an area that is not under an evacuation order, and it appears that the fire is blowing away from Santa Monica in this moment.
That's right, Kana. I mean, you can just see how powerful this is. So we are right by the ocean. We are right above Pacific Coast Highway. So to see this dark smoke billowing over it really is just, it's so unusual. It makes you stop, and we've seen a lot of residents stop to take a look just to emphasize how scary the situation is. But what I wanted to point out You know, as you and Alex talk about, there are so many residents that are leaving their homes. They're trying to evacuate. You know, Kana, we've covered these fires. When I was covering the mountain fire in Camarillo that burned not that long ago, and that was so devastating for so many people in Camarillo, there were homeowners who stayed behind. And I think for some of the folks at home who don't understand why a homeowner would want to stay in their home to try to defend it, you have to remember in California, the conditions are so dry, and when these winds pick up, some people have had their homes burned. They will move and just come across another situation like this. So for those, I spoke with a man who did have his home burned years ago, and then he moved to Camarillo. The mountain fire hits, and he said he wanted to stay and defend his home. He was taking water from his neighbor's pool. They all worked together to try to prevent those flames from burning their house down. And I asked him, it is so dangerous. You never know which way the wind is going to blow. Why would you stay behind? He said it was not worth having to lose everything and start over and rebuild. Navigating insurance is very difficult. Losing all of your belongings is very difficult. So that's just to I'm telling you this just so you can have a little bit of background understanding for why some people might want to try to stay and defend their property. But again, I do want to show you just what the traffic flow looks like here in Santa Monica. Typically, this area is crowded, but there's a sense of urgency going on, Kena, as people try to get out of this area and to try to get to safety. Kena.
And that is really good perspective, because unfortunately for so many people, even if their home stands, their battle has just begun. We have extremely dangerous weather conditions right now in Southern California. A fire has broken out in one of the most expensive swaths of land in this country. It's burned nearly 800 acres at this point. There is word of people that are sheltering in place, and there was an utter traffic jam trying to escape. This is a story we will continue to follow for you. You're watching ABC News Live.
Did you know GoodRx can help you get a better price on your family's prescriptions?
I just open the app, type in the name of our meds, that's it. Savings on my asthma medication. All right, round two, baby, round two. Oh yeah! Savings on my husband's blood pressure refills. And savings on my daughter's allergy pills.
Prescription savings for the whole family.
Have a good one.
Another good reason to check GoodRx.
America's #1 most watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first.
I love it. I'm there for it.
Hot topics, political views.
That's what we're about.
Voices that matter. It all goes down right here.
That's why it's called the what? The View. I love it. I'm all in. Second that. This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our Combat Operations Center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions.
Operational nuclear reactor.
So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it.
Not a tear in it.
How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love this.
Great work.
Hi.
Where are you? Where are you? Appreciate you.
Thank you.
David, good to meet you.
Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
All right, I'm Kena Whitworth here in Los Angeles, and we come on the air tonight. We have an extremely dangerous situation that is developing here in Southern California. People racing to evacuate their homes as a wildfire explodes in Pacific Palisades. In fact, a major traffic jam forced people to abandon their cars on the road and run toward the coast for safety. In a matter of hours, this fire consumed nearly 800 acres of the most expensive land and property in this country, and it is still burning. This is live images right now of a home home that is on fire. You can see firefighters there, but you can also see just how dark that sky is at this point. This fire has turned day into night for people in this area. Ahead of this fire, the weather conditions were described as life-threatening, destructive, and widespread, and we are seeing that play out in real time. The National Weather Service warning of extremely critical fire danger in Southern California. This area is experiencing the worst wind event it's seen in over a decade. Right there, what you're looking at is the bluffs just around Pacific Palisades. And again, that gives you another view of just how dark this sky has become as this wildfire is raging. Again, nearly 800 acres has burned here in just a matter of hours. Millions of people right now from Simi Valley to Chula Vista are under a red flag warning and other alerts. This windstorm is described as extreme. It is bringing hurricane force gusts to the West Coast. And this is, again, another live look here at the smoke and the fire that is burning in this Pacific Palisades area. To give you an idea, that is the Pacific Coast Highway that is running just underneath, and this is far away from where that fire is burning, but it just shows you how damaging it is, how much smoke is in the air. I want to bring in ABC News' Alex Stone, who is in Glendale, California, with us. And, you know, we're talking about the fire here in Pacific Palisades, Alex, but this wind event is widespread. In fact, ahead of this fire, even out here in Glendale, Burbank area where we're both at, there were power outages, there were downed trees, many concerns, and it is far from over.
It is far from over, Kana, and it is power outages because of the lines coming down and what they call PSPSs, public safety power shutoffs, where Southern California Edison is actually turning off the power to areas that are in high fire danger areas in case lines do come down so that then fires don't run. And that is going to be the big concern tonight. These winds that are blowing right now, that it's going to be a very dangerous night tonight. And on the fire in Pacific Palisades, it is still moving, and it is moving quickly. They have mapped it at about 800 acres. We know homes have been lost. How many homes, we don't know yet, but it's still moving in this wind. The one saving grace to the wildfire a number of weeks ago in Malibu was the wind kind of died down after an initial push. That's not going to go on here. That this is going to last like this for at least another 24 hours, maybe even longer than that, all the way to Friday. This is going to be a very long time.
There's no question about that. And as you're seeing some of those palm fronds burn in this video, huge flames. A couple of things, Alex, from you and I who have covered wildfires for so many years. The issue with palm fronds, right, is that it's almost like topping out on a tree each time. Those palm fronds start to burn and the wind catches them and takes them to the ground or even shoots them several yards ahead. And also, Alex, you're seeing these flames run uphill, something that we know fire likes to do in conditions like this, and that Pacific Palisades area is ripe for that.
Absolutely, and it is so dry right now. We have not gotten any real rain here in Southern California since about March of last year. And the humidity, I'm just going to check what the humidity is right now because on my watch we're at 19% humidity. It's dry. It could be drier than that and probably will be over the next couple of days as the red flag warning conditions go until Friday, and then about 24 more hours of this kind of wind. But with super low humidity levels like that, and the wind, any kind of a spark is going to take off. And some of these winds tonight, the forecast is saying 80 to 100 miles an hour. And as we've been mentioning, that means the fire is moving at 80 to 100 miles an hour, and humans can't outrun that. That's where it gets dangerous, especially at nighttime when we're talking about people being asleep at home. Tonight is going to be worrisome. They will have Pacific Palisades cleared out by then, but it has been a mess trying to get people out. Traffic backed up, fire engines unable to get in. It's been rough in Pacific Palisades.
And you're right to bring up how concerning it can be through the night as well, because firefighters only have a few operational aircraft at night. There's only a few of them that even can use the night vision or things like that. So all of a sudden, when you start to lose your air attack, things become much more challenging than they already are, as you're again, sadly, watching yet another home here fully engulfed in flames in Pacific Palisades. I also want to bring in ABC's Jacqueline Lee, who's live for us in Santa Monica as well. And so, Jacqueline, again, this fire has grown to nearly 800 acres. and that's the latest number that we have. And they are expecting a slight drop in the winds here this afternoon, but they are expecting that to pick back up. And you can see this plume of smoke there behind you, and you're in an area where this fire in general is actually moving away from you, but it just showcases how impactful it has been.
That's right, Kena. So we're here in Santa Monica. We are right at the edge of the ocean. So just to kind of show you guys the smoke, as you can see, it's moving here to the left of the screen. Right over here, this is the ocean, okay? And so the smoke, you're seeing it spread all the way around. We're seeing so many residents stop and take a look because it almost feels a little bit apocalyptic, right? I mean, this is so unusual. In Santa Monica, it's typically, you know, palm trees, very calm, very relaxed. But right now, it just feels very hectic. There's a lot of sirens going on in the background as, of course, officials are trying to, urge homeowners to get to safety, to evacuate. We received evacuation orders on our phone. This is a very serious situation. But, as we talk about how much this fire has spread, because initially it started with 10 acres and now we're nearing nearly 800, and we're seeing homes start to burn. Let's talk about the resources that were involved. So, of course, officials were expecting this wind event. We haven't seen something like this in more than a decade, Kena. So, I mean, that just emphasizes how strong and unusual these wind gusts are. I mean, up to 100 miles an hour, and it really will not be stopping anytime soon. So what, fire officials did is they took, fire crews, they took engines, equipment, everything from the north. They diverted it to the south. As we've seen, as we've covered wildfires, anytime there is great need, you see that diversion of resources. So obviously here in Pacific Palisades, this is what's burning. This is a high fire zone. Many people, especially in the area, in the mountains, in the Topanga area, Malibu, this is a huge fear for homeowners. So of course, as we spoke about earlier, people fleeing, trying to get their belongings, trying to get their pets. People, getting to the point where they're even abandoning their cars to flee on foot. That is such a scary moment, and we cannot emphasize that enough. Officials urging everybody to get out as quickly as possible. Kena.
Absolutely, and people certainly trying to heed that warning, it sounds like, at best. Jacqueline, thank you, and Alex, thank you as well. I also want to bring in Melissa Griffin so we can get a closer look at this weather forecast. And so, Melissa, look, we knew that this event was coming, right? And the warnings were very clear. At this point, the latest, see here, wind gusts I'm seeing is some 33 miles an hour, but I know that forecasters were anticipating gusts much higher than that.
And that's right, Kena. It's because this event is just beginning. We're going to see these winds increasing tonight and peaking by tomorrow morning. They actually just clocked in a 37-mile-per-hour gust there, and that is going to continue to go up. And it's because we have this extreme wind danger, which is actually a very rare thing that National Weather Service is calling this. Life-threatening and destructive winds in that area, highlighted in purple. Anywhere in these areas from Simi Valley, Burbank, just north of LA, that includes Beverly Hills and Hollywood, down to Malibu, Pasadena. That's where we're going to see those widespread 40 to 60 mile per hour gusts, even in the populated areas. And then the 80 to 100 mile per hour gusts locally across parts of the higher elevations in the mountains. A very extreme and dangerous wind event is going to be unfolding. And you're going to see this timing because it's going to increase through tonight and it peaks by tomorrow morning. So that extreme fire danger is why we have these particularly dangerous situation red flag warnings. That is an elevated red flag warning, meaning that we're combining these extremely low humidity values with very widespread wind gusts that are topping up to 100 miles per hour. You can see there Santa Clarita, 62 miles per hour. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, all the way down to Santa Ana, 53 miles per hour. Now, these wind gusts will not only bring that erratic fire behavior, which is very dangerous to life and property, but also the widespread power outages and down trees. That is also dangerous as well outside of the fires that we're going to be watching. And Kane, I just want to mention that, as you can see here, that system that's bringing those Santa Ana winds and the extreme fire danger, that's actually going to move across the country and bring a winter storm to parts of the south as we head into later this week and the weekend. So really just such a dynamic weather system and just a dangerous 24 to 48 hours there in Southern California as they continue to battle these fires and these winds that are coming along with it. Kana.
And Melissa, can I follow up with you on just one thing here? So you're saying that we're expecting the winds to peak at some point tomorrow morning, which means clearly the worst is not over. And just sharing with you our local perspective, right? We were waiting for these winds to kick up this afternoon. That's when we were told they would be the worst. But this fire started really even before that. And I think it just goes to show just how tinder dry some of these conditions are. And as you mentioned as well, the low humidity.
That's right. There hasn't been significant rain in months. So when you combine that with those winds, that's when you have this really dangerous situation. And I noticed that, too. I mean, that fire, I mean, such an incredible images. We've seen these houses burning down already. I couldn't help but realize that this started before the wind event really took shape. I mean, we were waiting through this afternoon into the evening for the winds to peak. The winds really don't even peak in some of these areas until tomorrow morning. So such an extended, prolonged event that we haven't even seen the worst of it yet, which is what really worries me when we're already seeing fires to this extent, Kana.
Absolutely. Deeply concerning. Melissa Griffin, thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate your time and your coverage as well. We'll be checking in with you. We also want to bring in our ABC News Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman, who made his way to this fire in Pacific Palisades, really in the thick of the blaze there. Matt?
Kana, right behind me, able to see one of these houses that is up in flames. You also can see folks racing back to their homes, trying to save them. This man is driving into what we've seen as some of the worst of the fire. Multiple homes up in flames just beyond where that man drove. That house behind me up there is in flames. And down in the valley, we've been hearing but can't see through this curtain of smoke. Additional homes going up, the snap, crackling, and popping of wood, of pieces of home, and the boom sounds of propane tanks going up, like that one that you might have just heard behind me. In all, 26,000 people here in the Pacific Palisades have been ordered to evacuate, and there is absolute gridlock on the one major thoroughfare in the Pacific Palisades, Sunset Boulevard. We were on it to get here. It took a very long time to get through. People are 3 lanes trying to get out, completely blocking the motorways. You can see additional motorists coming in, which is very surprising. We haven't actually seen much of it over the past hour or so that we've been here. But those folks are going into some of the most dangerous parts that we've seen. And there's not much end in sight over the next 24 hours. This wind, which has been fueling this fire here, is set to persist across LA County. This is some of the most populated parts of the country. There are millions of people in the crosshairs right now. And it's not just the fire danger, which is extreme, which firefighters and the National Weather Service have been warning people about, but it's actually also the winds themselves. People have been urged to stay away from windows to make sure that they're not in houses where trees could topple or are unstable. They're being warned about big rigs and trailers, mobile homes being flipped over. So this is a multifactorial type of event, one of the most extreme that we've seen here in this part of California since 2011, Kana.
All right, Matt Gutman again making his way to that fire there in Pacific Palisades. And as you saw those cars sort of whiz by him, it really goes to show the panic that people that live in that area are in and the fear of losing everything as they realize that this fire is bearing down on their neighborhood and there is nothing that can be done in that moment. I want to turn now to Josh Haskell from our Los Angeles station, KABC. He's also in Pacific Palisades, and I want to mention as well, this is an area where he grew up and where his family lives. Josh?
Kana, we are in Pacific Palisades. We're at Palisades Drive and Sunset, where the fire has reached as it tries to burn down to the Pacific Ocean and Gladstones, where Sunset hits PCH. Take a look right now. Firefighters have set up a break along Sunset Boulevard. A fire surrounded this shopping center a short time ago. It looks like they were able to save this shopping center, but every time we look up, we see fire again behind the shopping center. And now you can see firefighters doing the best they can to make sure that this fire doesn't cross Sunset Boulevard. This is of course, wind-driven Santa Ana wind, very chaotic fire as there was gridlock, people evacuating the Palisades Highlands community, sitting in traffic. You can see some have ditched their cars. Clearly they were not feeling comfortable with the fire reaching Sunset. They left their cars and they walked. There's a number of cars just standing here on Sunset. And the scariest thing about this is that when we think that they have a handle on this and they save this shopping center, I turn my head and I look, and now south of Palisades Drive, you can just see the fire activity. It is incredibly smoky. Our eyes are burning from all the ash, and we're seeing palm trees now on fire. There is a home on top of that hill that was just surrounded by fire, and it is difficult for firefighters because of just how fast this fire is changing to really get a handle on this very chaotic situation in Pacific Palisades. For now, I'm ABC 7 Eyewitness News' Josh Haskell. I will send it back to you, Kana.
Josh, thank you so much for being here with us today. Again, reiterating, this is an area that he knows well. When he's talking about that shopping center, that's a shopping center where he has shopped many times. And so this is hitting locally for many people that live here. And it's been a very, very scary situation throughout the day. Again, this fire at this point is nearly 800 acres and burning very, very quickly in these tinder dry conditions. I want to bring in Alex Stone, who is also with us out here today. And so, Alex, a couple of things that we're learning now. And actually, I think we can bring in the video here. Alex, you and I talked about people abandoning their cars, right? And just how scary it was for them to try and evacuate and then find themselves in gridlock traffic. And so, Alex, now we have video of the bulldozer, as promised from authorities, that they would be bringing in this bulldozer to move these cars and get them out of the way so that firefighters can make their way up to these homes and gain access to this fire. And Alex, I mean, this is a serious issue that you see here in Southern California, for someone to be so afraid, right, that they're stuck in traffic, to abandon their car, and then it impedes the firefighting efforts. And what you're looking at now is what happened after that bulldozer sort of went through to try to move those cars out of the way here, Alex. But again, this is a massive effort, not only from the Los Angeles County Fire Department, CAL FIRE, but also the Los Angeles Police Department is now involved, right? They're on tactical alert.
Yeah, they are. And trying to evacuate the area. And tactical alert in L.A. means that then they're able to keep officers on beyond their regular shifts and to move them around between divisions. And it's more of kind of a logistical type thing to move them around. But to the point about those cars, this is about life safety right now. They've got to get fire engines in, and the cars have been blocking engines getting in. It was people trying to get out. They could not get out fast enough. They ended up jumping out of their cars and then, I mean, really running away from the area and leaving the cars there. So now using the bulldozer and the bulldozers to get in and just slide them out of the area and just push them out of the area so the LAFD can get in and battle the flames. Yeah, in another hour or so, we're going to be talking about the sun going down, and air attack will get interesting at that point. The large fixed-wing aircraft won't be able to fly. I don't think they've really been able to fly much today anyway. The big tankers that you would think of, they have been using what we call the super scoopers. They kind of look like yellow from DuckTales, these big yellow things that come in. They're from Canada. They cannot fly at night. It's going to come down to a couple of helicopters. There's something called the Firehawk that they use. The CAL FIRE and LAFD can use at nighttime with night vision goggles. There's a QRF, the Quick Reaction Force, Chinook double rotor helicopters that Southern California Edison actually helps pay for. And there's one in LA County, Ventura County, and Orange County. They come together on a fire like this. They can fly at nighttime as well. So they'll be using the Chinooks and the Firehawks tonight. And then tomorrow, if the winds calm down a bit, they can get more of the heavy air attack up, and hopefully the super scoopers will be able to get up as well. But at this point, this is going to be quite a night for the helicopters doing what they can, and hopefully this will be the only fire as we move on tonight.
Yeah, right. That certainly is the hope, because as we have talked about, at least 3 other fires sparked earlier in the day, and they were put out there by firefighters. Again, you're seeing things here being completely demolished on the side of the road as people are still trying to exit. And so, again, Alex brings up a really good point here, is that as night falls, the firefighting efforts, especially from the air, are going to be extremely hampered. And something else that is deeply concerning locally here is the widespread power outages that many people are experiencing, especially if you live in more of those rural areas and you depend on things like Wi-Fi to make phone calls to get your information. Things like that start to get really scary for some of these communities, especially in this wildland-urban interface. And this is part of a disaster that we are seeing in what is considered a wildland-urban interface, right? It can be really, really dangerous for people that live in those areas. I also want to bring in ABC's Jacqueline Lee, who is live for us in Santa Monica. And in Santa Monica there, you can actually see, Jacqueline, behind you, that plume of smoke is really, really growing at this hour, and it is almost it's almost darkening the entire sky there behind you. And again, this fire is moving away from the direction you're in.
Absolutely, Kenna. You know, the wind is really starting to pick up. But, I mean, just let's talk about this massive smoke plume over here. It is so thick, and it is so ominous being here in Santa Monica. This is typically a place that's very laid back. It's very beautiful because right over there is the Pacific Ocean. Right below us is Pacific Coast Highway. And so, you know, what officials have done is they've actually sectioned off and closed off specific parts of the freeway and parts of PCH in order to help with the evacuation efforts in Pacific Palisades. So, you know, here in Santa Monica, it's both a combination of it feels ominous, it feels kind of like we're in a sci-fi movie, but then there's also people who are just going about their business, going on a run, walking their dog. So you kind of have both. You know, here in Santa Monica, the city said there is no evacuation orders. There's no threat at this point in time. But as we've spoken about repeatedly, is how quickly fires can grow. It only takes one ember, and especially when you're talking about wind gusts that can go up to 100 miles an hour, the wind can go display erratic behavior in any which direction, and the fire can hop over highways, it can hop over freeways, and then it just, you know, spreads so widely. As we've spoken about in Pacific Palisades, people evacuating their homes. And, you know, we touched on this before, but, you know, we've covered several fires. You know, I was just covering the mountain fire in Camarillo just a few months ago, and there were people who deliberately decided to ignore the evacuation orders to try to defend their homes because they said it was not worth trying to rebuild, deal with insurance, and potentially lose all their belongings. So for them, the risk of trying to protect their home, whether it was using pool water, hoses at their disposal just to protect their land and their property, that was worth it to them. It was worth the risk rather than evacuating. As I'm sure you can hear all of the sirens going on in the background. It just adds to the atmosphere. It just feels very off today. And obviously you can see that with this massive smoke plume in the background. So even though we're not in Pacific Palisades, you can certainly feel the urgency and you can feel the risk. Kena.
I mean, it is deeply concerning for everyone here in Southern California, and frankly, people are impacted in one way or another. If it's with traffic, it's with power outages, if it's with family and friends and loved ones that might be in that fire zone, especially as these evacuation warnings and zones are expanding by the minute. Schools are closing, so there's a lot of impact still to come because, again, as we heard Melissa Griffin mention, the biggest wind gusts are expected tomorrow morning, so we have a scary night ahead of us. We do want to mention that we are expecting to hear from authorities on this fire, specifically LA County fire, in just a moment. They are setting up to do a press conference to bring us an update on that. It's our understanding that Governor Gavin Newsom is also on the ground there as well. He has been briefed about this fire. He also took part in pre-positioning several assets ahead of today, knowing that this critical fire weather was on its way here to Southern California. So again, there you see the podium. And again, we are waiting on an update from the Pacific Palisades fire that at this point has burned just under 800 acres and has destroyed countless homes, although we do not have a number on that just yet. This is a story we will continue to follow. You're watching ABC News Live. Stay with us.
Hey, that's great. But who are the chefs?
Rookie mistake?
Great googly moogly.
Maybe you just need a Snickers.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
We heard what appeared to be gunfire. The former president rushed off the stage.
Hurricane Helene ravaging the coastline of Florida.
It's moving really fast, screaming across the state.
And that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story. As news breaks live.
We hear the small arms fire around us.
We're right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
ABC News Live is there for you at the start of your day all morning live. ABC News Live. live right there as events unfold across the day. ABC News Live, breaking down the day's top stories.
Lyle and Eric Menendez, there is new evidence in this case.
ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is. Are you going to build it back up?
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekends.
With breaking news and all the latest pop headlines.
Happy Oscars Sunday.
A lot to watch for tonight.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I am in.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'll be here.
This version of me. America's #1 most watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first.
I love it. I'm there for it.
Hot topics, political views,
That's what we're about.
voices that matter. It all goes down right here.
That's why it's called the what? The View.
I love it. I'm all in.
Second that. This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen.
All right, you're watching ABC News Live. I'm Kana Whitworth here in Los Angeles, California. And again, we are dealing with an extremely critical and disastrous situation here in Southern California as the Pacific Palisades fire has now grown. We have a new number for you to 1,261 acres plus. So again, this fire started about 10:30 a.m. local time and has exploded with these extreme winds. The biggest wind gust clocked in at 37 miles an hour, according to Melissa Griffin in our studios in New York. However, she notes that the biggest winds are yet to come. They are expecting them tomorrow morning, which leaves for a very scary night here in Southern California as the evacuation zones continue to grow around the Pacific Palisades area and almost to the burn scar of the Franklin fire that torched Malibu just about a month ago. As you're looking live here, what you're seeing is essentially day turning into night in Southern California because of this fire. Again, it is a scary situation for residents who were trying to evacuate. Many of them found themselves in a traffic jam so severe that they got out of their cars and left on foot, many of them carrying what belongings they could or their pets and just leaving their cars in the middle of the road, which is hard on them, but it is also hard on firefighters who then cannot use that road to make their way up to scenes like that. This is Pacific Palisades, one of the most expensive swaths of land in this country on fire. And there you're seeing the traffic jam of people trying to leave, trying to escape. Some said they left an hour after the fire started, so it wasn't as if people were waiting around. We're also hearing word that some people are actually stuck in Pacific Palisades at this hour, that they are being told to shelter in place. There is some 250 firefighters that are on this scene right now, and this is video of the cars that were left abandoned on the road. And so what they had to do was bring in a bulldozer and bulldoze the cars out of the way, again, so they could get those firefighting assets up into those communities and try to save what structures they could. Sadly, we have seen several homes lost. We do not have a count at this time, but we are waiting on an update from authorities. They will be addressing the media here shortly. We also understand that Governor Gavin Newsom is on the ground as well. He has been briefed on this fire. And one other thing that we do want to share with you is we haven't been able to get a lot of overhead scenes of this fire from many news helicopters because there is a temporary flight restriction in place, and that is in part because President Joe Biden is in California here today. It's my understanding that we do have some video or pictures, at least, of Air Force One, because it was quite a scene at Los Angeles International Airport today, where you can see right there, that is the fire burning in Pacific Palisades in the background. And so that gives you an idea of this smoke plume that is now encasing parts of Southern California. Again, if you're in that smoke, it is turning day into night, and it has been a terrifying ordeal for everyone involved. I want to bring in ABC's Alex Stone, who has been covering this here with me, and both of us have covered several wildfires in our time. And Alex, when you see some of these videos coming in from Pacific Palisades, and you're seeing the exact description of the wind, but it's happening with fire, right? It's erratic. You're seeing that spotting, and you are seeing these fires burn all the way to the tip top of some of those palm trees.
Yeah, and some of the numbers that we were getting earlier on the spotting, Kana, was that some of the embers were spotting about a half a mile ahead. I wouldn't be surprised now with the winds if it's even beyond that, but that means live embers that are being picked up in the wind, going a half a mile down the road, really, dropping and then igniting a new fire right there, which then becomes part of the main fire. So that's where the evacuations get scary, that you say, well, the fire's still a half a mile away from here, but you get one ember that lands, and then it takes off right there, and that it can be so dangerous. You were talking about the president. He was supposed to fly on that 757 version of Air Force One to the Coachella Valley today for an event, and they had to cancel it because it was not safe to make that flight and to have people go out to the event. And they decided, I mean, can you imagine flying in this weather, of how bumpy it was going to be? I've been watching planes landing at, or trying to land at, the Burbank Airport, not far away from where I am right now. They were diverting through much of today, going to LAX, where they have longer runways, in Long Beach. This morning, as I was driving in, there was a Southwest flight that tried to land, couldn't do it. It was wavering, took off and went around and tried again, and they aborted the landing and did a go-around. So it's been a rough day for air travel as well, for the president and for passengers trying to come in and out of especially Burbank Airport, but all of the Southern California airports. But it's still very windy out here right now, and tonight we expect the winds to pick up even more.
And I think that's a really scary deal. And so, Alex, I'm hoping that you can help us describe here a couple of things that we know, not only from living in this area, but from covering these wildfires. I saw one firefighter describing this essentially as a wildland-urban interface disaster. And I think that we are seeing that play out in real time here, Alex. And you and I know very well what it's like for some of these communities that you do live in some of these areas. While, yes, highly populated, yes, 15 minutes from Los Angeles, 30 minutes from Los Angeles, but it is part of that wildland interface. And so you're talking about steep canyons full of dry brush, and those canyons is where those Santa Ana winds just rush through right to the ocean, making it so challenging for people that live there, but also for the firefighters to attack those flames, Alex.
You're absolutely right. As we build into more of the wildland area, you get more of the urban interface. And it's not only here in California, but it's in Colorado, it's in Oregon, it's in Washington State, Utah, it's everywhere. And you're going to get fires in the wildland, and now they burn into communities. There are entire science departments at universities. UC Irvine has one where they are studying this as we continue to grow. I mean, we see it here around LA. Pacific Palisades has been around for a while. Malibu has been around for a while. Those are urban interface, but they're doing a lot of building right now in the northern areas of LA and Santa Clarita, and areas that have been wilderness up until now, and they burn, and there hasn't been anything there. Now there are people there. We're out in Riverside. So this is all something that they've got to deal with. The other part of this, though, is as people are living in these areas, that ever since the Paradise Fire in Northern California that killed so many people, and the fire in Santa Rosa in 2017 that killed so many, the Tubbs Fire, the power companies here, in this case Southern California Edison and Northern California PG&E, they have started to shut off the power when it gets windy in case power lines come down. I was just looking, this is beyond just the numbers of power that is off because lines have come down. They have, as of right now, shut off the power for about 8,600 people in Southern California, most of those in LA County, but there are 412,000 more who are being warned tonight. They may have their electricity turned off by Southern California Edison because it's just too dangerous. And then you get into the nighttime situation of, do people know if there is a fire? Do they have the connectivity to get out? If they are in these canyons, and there are so many here in Southern California where they may not have cell phone connectivity, but they may, 411,000 people in Southern California tonight may have their power turned off by Southern California Edison just to prevent wildfires.
I can't reiterate enough how challenging and scary that can be. While they do take measures, right, to protect these communities and do things safely, if you don't have power and you don't have Wi-Fi and you don't have the ability to get information, you are solely relying on firefighters or authorities to come bang on your door to evacuate. And in many cases, that is something that they have to do. They had to do that during the Franklin fire there in Malibu not that long ago. And in fact, this fire is getting awfully close to that burn scar. There's some evacuation orders that butt right up to that burn scar in Malibu. So this has been an extremely challenging few months for people in these communities. So what you're seeing there here on your screen, in one side is the fire that is just burning on the side of the road there in Pacific Palisades. And that really gives you an idea, by the way, of how they're having to prioritize this firefight, right? They know that what they're looking at right there in that moment is a loss, and it doesn't seem to be spotting any further fire, so they're sitting there, they're watching it. The real attack is happening further up that road, further into Pacific Palisades, where they are at this point trying to save any and all structures that they can. Sadly, we have seen several of them lost already at this hour. And when Alex is talking about the fire that was in Paradise known as the Camp Fire, I mean, that was a fire that we lost some 85 people, utterly devastating to that community that has had a hard time recovering all these years later. And you are seeing, you know, scenes similar to that playing out here right now in Southern California. I do want to bring in Jacqueline Lee as well. Again, we're reminding people that we're waiting on this press conference from local authorities as well as Governor Gavin Newsom, who is on the ground here, and I have a feeling that we'll be learning a lot. But Jacqueline, see here the new numbers here, 1,262 some acres, and that's at this point. Clearly this fire continues to grow, Jacqueline, and we're learning that there's some 250 firefighters on this fire as well. But from your standpoint, where you're at in Santa Monica, I know that we can see that plume really growing. But it's also interesting because I've seen it as well. When I'm standing where you're at in some of those areas, you can actually see some of those super scoopers sort of go over the ocean and pick up ocean water and carry it to those fires, Jacqueline.
Oh, absolutely, Kana. And what's been really interesting to watch is the evolution of this massive smoke plume. So as you can see, this is where the thick of it is. That's obviously where the fire is coming from. But as we've seen over the last hour, the wind gusts have really started to pick up. We've seen the smoke turn all the way towards the Pacific Coast Highway. Here's the Pacific Ocean. It's almost like it's moved 180 degrees. And the smoke, it is so thick that it is like blocking out the sun. It is making it dark out here, even though we're nowhere near the time of when the sun should be going down, just because the smoke is just that powerful. The wind gusts are blowing so strong and so fast. And so that just adds to the point of how scary the situation is, especially for homeowners. To have these wind gusts pick up, I mean, that's a homeowner's worst nightmare, because it really only takes one ember to fly with the wind, land somewhere, and then a whole nother fire sparks. It makes an even larger fire. And that is what is most concerning, because the wind gusts are only going to be getting stronger. We are expected the peak to be tomorrow morning. We've covered all of these fires. I mentioned the mountain fire that burned dozens of homes in Camarillo back in November. And, with the residents that we spoke with there, obviously they knew that a fire emerged, and some sprinted out of their homes trying to leave, but some decided to stay. And that's what I think we're gonna, as we go into hearing more about the homeowners' journeys, some are gonna be trying to stay, Kana. So let's talk. I think there might be a press conference coming up, Kana.
Jacqueline, thank you very much. We're going to take you live now to Eric Scott, who's addressing the media about the Palisades fire. Let's listen in.
After those 8 individuals, we'll have Spanish, and then we'll have follow-up questions. After that, we'll have one-on-one interviews and let you know when the next press conference will be. So we ask at this time, please silence your cell phones, turn down your radios, keep your sidebar conversations off to the side. But to begin with, we'd like to call up the fire chief of the Los Angeles City Fire Department, Kristen Crowley.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'll be giving you a brief on what your LEFD has done up to this point. So at 10:30 this morning, a brush fire was reported at 1190 North Piedra Miranda Drive in our local fire station here right behind us at Fire Station 23. Los Angeles is currently experiencing an extreme fire weather condition with red flag alert. At the time of the fire, the relative humidity was 12 and the winds were approximately 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Based on the red flag weather, your LAFD pre-deployed additional resources, made public awareness notifications, and issued parking restrictions in high-hazard fire areas to ensure that the means of access and egress of our local fire stations and apparatus could move up and in around the area. First LAFD resources reported initially a 10-acre fire with 40-mile-per-hour winds and alignment heading towards the west or towards the ocean. The LAFD then requested all resources, including strike teams and aircraft from assisting agencies. We then went into an aggressive attack and focused our efforts on fire life safety operations, beginning with evacuations. Currently, the fire is at 1,261 acres and growing based on aerial reconnaissance. The fire is being fueled by a combination of strong winds and surrounding topography, which is making it extremely challenging for our personnel that are assigned to this incident. We currently have over 250 LAFD firefighters on scene, including 46 engines, 3 trucks, 5 helicopters, 4 brush patrols, 2 water tenders, 6 paramedic ambulances, 1 fast response vehicle, 1 advanced nurse practitioner unit, 2 bulldozers, 10 chief officers, fire investigators, and safety officers. Additionally, we're so grateful for the hundreds of law enforcement officers, partner agencies, first responders, and public work members that are engaged actively in this operation. PCH is closed from Lincoln Tunnel to Topanga Boulevard. Evacuation orders are in place for approximately 30,000 residents, including the Highlands area. North of PCH, south of Topanga Canyon Boulevard, east of Tuna Canyon Road, west of Seabreeze Drive and Surfside Drive. Our evacuation center is the Westwood Recreation Center located at 1350 South Sepulveda Boulevard in LA. The population threatened is approximately 25,748. Households threatened is approximately 10,367. Structures threatened are approximately 13,208. At this point, we feel very blessed at this point that there's no injuries that are reported. We do have reports of multiple structures that are damaged. Since the beginning of this fire, I've been in constant communication with Mayor Bass, as well as other city leadership, who's working very, very closely. As you can see, this entire entity behind me, we're working seamlessly and closely to ensure that we are protecting lives and property first. So with that, we'll go ahead and introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Chief Crowley. The next speaker will be the Los Angeles County Fire Chief Maroney.
So good afternoon. My name is Anthony Maroney. I'm the County of Los Angeles Fire Department Chief. Shortly after the start of the Palisades fire, LA County Fire did assist the City of Los Angeles with a first alarm brush assignment. At 11:30 hours this morning, our LA County Fire Department went into unified command with the City of Los Angeles, and at 12:30, our CAL FIRE partners from the state went into unified command with not only LA City Fire, LA County Fire, and LAPD. Currently, LA County Fire is providing aerial resources to fight this brush fire, including our Firehawk helicopters, our CH-47, part of our nighttime QRF resource that we have, in addition to our CL-415 Super Scoopers. We also have 3 engine strike teams assigned and almost 100 LA County Fire personnel. I want to let all of the viewers and listeners know that we are not out of danger. The National Weather Service has predicted that the winds are going to pick up and get worse. We're going to have the most significant wind event between 10 p.m. this evening and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it's incumbent that everybody have a wildfire action plan for their home if they live in a brush-covered area. Please visit the LA County Fire Department website for Ready, Set, Go information. So that's fire.lacounty.gov/RSG. And for the most up-to-date incident information and emergency preparedness information, go to lacounty.gov/emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. During emergencies, always by our side is our friends from law enforcement. So we'd like to invite LAPD Chief of Police Jim McDonald.
Thank you very much. We are here in a support role to our fire partners. Just a quick rundown. We have over 100 officers here deployed. Another approximately 60 ready to be deployed once a mission is given to them. So far, the major job for our people have been evacuation, traffic control, allowing ingress and egress to emergency vehicles, and those can be helpful. I would have an ask that if you would, please do everything you can to open up the streets so we can get the resources we need to be able to deal with this emergency. Please take this wind emergency very seriously. As you heard from the speakers before me, this is something that is going to get worse throughout the night, so we all have to look out for each other. Areas of evacuation so far, about 30,000 people have been evacuated from a total of 10,000 households or 15,000 structures, to include businesses and other buildings so far, with no injury. So we're very thankful for that. Well, we truly ask for all assistance that we can get in making this as smooth as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief McDonald. We'd also like to call up LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, please.
Thank you. My deepest thanks to the first responders who are working tirelessly to fight this Palisades fire. Moments ago, Chair Barger signed LA County's emergency proclamation for this fire, for the severe wind event and all of the fires related to it. As the National Weather Service predicted, this is a life-threatening situation. To our Palisades and Topanga community under evacuation order, please leave. Ensure your home is unlocked, the power is off, and making sure first responders can easily access the structure. This is essential to keeping you safe and to allowing fire and first responder personnel to do their work. For our unincorporated communities in Santa Monica Mountains, including Sunset Mesa, Topanga Canyon, and Malibu, all under evacuation order and evacuation warning, please ensure you are checking emergency.lacounty.gov and heeding all door-to-door information from our LA County Sheriff and Fire Departments. Thanks to our partners at the Topanga Coalition for Emergency Preparedness, who work year-round to practice evacuation drills and emergency preparedness, and they're working tirelessly right now to ensure information is shared across Topanga. For those with livestock, the evacuation location is Pierce College. For those needing small animal evacuation location, the Agora Animal Shelter is available to you. Thank you to Governor Newsom for your quick support and coordination. Thanks to Mayor Bass, to Councilmember Park, and all of the council members in the city, and all of our partners, city, county, and state, unified and working together to keep people safe and address this fire. The county and city of Los Angeles have a lot of experience in unified command. This emergency is no different. We're dedicating every resource we can to urgently contain this fire. I want to extend my gratitude to the Los Angeles County Fire Department, the Sheriff's Department, the Office of Emergency Management, and all of our county partners. I know LAUSD officials also wanted to be with us, but given the conditions, that was challenging. A few school updates. Topanga Elementary at Woodland Hills Academy will be relocated all week. Palisades and Marquez Elementaries will be relocated at Brentwood, science magnet for tomorrow. Paul Revere Middle School will be relocated at University High tomorrow. Pali High School is not in session this entire week, and Canyon Elementary will be relocated at a location to be determined. To those affected by the Palisades fire, I know today is terrifying and it is painful. Please know that you are not alone. The County of Los Angeles and all of our partners are here together to stand with you and be in support of you. Thank you again to everyone who is contributing resources to this incident. Your partnership is appreciated and it is essential to keeping people safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Next, we'd like to bring up Los Angeles City Council President Marquis Harris-Dawson.
Thank you so much. I just want everybody to know that since this morning, about 7 a.m., I've been in direct communication with Mayor Bass, who's on her way home from a diplomatic mission on behalf of the United States government. She will be here within hours. Also, we want everybody to know that the city is well prepared and has a tremendous emergency management infrastructure who has been on the case since 6 this morning at the beginning of this wind event. I'm proud to say that we have some of the best men and women anywhere in our fire department, our police department, as well as their partners across the state and across the county. I am also want everybody to know that as acting mayor and president of the LA City Council, along with the county, and we'll hear from the governor later, the city of LA is declaring a state of emergency through this wind event, and we'll have all resources on.
All right, so you are hearing from authorities here in Los Angeles that are giving us an update on this Palisades fire. Again, the acreage now at 1,261 and growing, and they're saying that they know that from what they're able to see from the sky. At this point, they're also saying that they know multiple structures have been lost, but they don't know how many yet, and that just gives you an idea of how in this firefight they still are. They're telling us there's 46 engines, 5 choppers that are on this fire, in addition to the over 250 firefighters that are fighting this Palisades fire. They also note here that there are several thousand people that are under evacuation orders that are being impacted by this, and they imagine at least at this point there's some 13,000 structures in all that are being threatened. Of note, they described the fire when it first started. They said there was 40-mile-per-hour winds. However, the gusts were reaching 50 miles an hour at 10:30 this morning here in Los Angeles. That is hours before this significant and critical and potentially deadly wind event even started. And they called it an aggressive attack. Again, 1,261 acres and growing there in Pacific Palisades. I do want to bring in Alex Stone, who's been covering this with me throughout the day here. And she brought up a couple of things there, Alex, when they were talking. First and foremost here, they did bring up the fact that they had put out parking restrictions for people, and they do that oftentimes when we're in Los Angeles and there is a red flag warning, and they do that to make sure that these roads are clear for access and egress as well. And we know that this was a major problem in this fire as people were trying to evacuate again and abandoning their cars.
You're right. And so yesterday, LAFD, Kana, they put out what they call red flag parking restrictions, and Pasadena did it as well. Pasadena doesn't do it very often. LA does it whenever there's a serious red flag coming in. And that limits where people can park in some of the canyons in the city of LA, specifically in the Hollywood Hills. That's kind of what these rules target, where the worry is that fire engines are not going to be able to get up the windy roads into some of the neighborhoods. So they tell people, do not park on the street. Your car will be towed. You'll get a ticket. And that parking on the street during a red flag fire warning, which we are in right now, that they are banned from parking there. And this was one of those. So that may come into play that it helped out getting fire engines in there. But there's still that situation of everybody trying to get out that we've been reporting on, where everybody was trying to get out all at once, blocking the roads, both sides of the road, going the wrong direction down the road, and fire engines could not get in. So all day, the engines had the red lights going, but they had no way to get into the flames because everybody was trying to get out.
And just abandoning those cars in a sheer panic, and it just goes to show what residents here are dealing with. Alex Stone, our thanks to you. I also quickly want to bring in Jacqueline Lee as well, who is in Santa Monica, again showcasing how many people are impacted by this fire, even if not directly. Jacqueline, it sounds like part of the PCH road closure starts near you there in Santa Monica.
Right, absolutely, Kena. I mean, what officials kept emphasizing during that press conference is that it is a team effort, and the biggest issue